The loose cog. James's fingers had tapped on keyboards for 23 years. Every morning at 7:15 sharp, he settled into his cubicle, turned on his computer, and processed the endless stream of insurance claims. His life ran with the precision of a Swiss watch. Work at 7:15, lunch at noon, off at 5:30, home by 6:15, dinner at 7. But lately, there seemed to be a loose cog in the watch. At first, it was just small things. He would stare at numbers on the screen and suddenly forget which step he was on. Then he began hesitating at familiar intersections, unsure whether to turn or go straight. Last Wednesday, he even forgot the color of his own car, pressing the key fob uselessly for 10 minutes in the parking lot. Too much stress, his wife Karen said. "We need a vacation. The database needs me," James replied. It was his mantra. In 23 years, he had never taken a single sick day. The shift happened on an ordinary Tuesday. James was processing a routine car accident claim when he noticed the applicant's name. Eileen Morris, the same as his late mother's. He looked closer at the file. 68 years old, lived alone, accident in a supermarket parking lot, no injuries, minor scratches on the vehicle. Procedure dictated a simple click of approve for such a small claim, but James's finger hovered over the mouse. In the file photo, Eileen had a faint bruise under her eye, not mentioned in the report. He zoomed in. The bruise looked like a thumbprint. "Loose cog," he murmured, and did something he'd never done in 23 years. He called the applicant. "Miss Morris, this is James from the insurance company. Regarding your claim, I noticed a bruise on your face in the photo. Would you like me to arrange a medical assessment?" A long silence, then a weary voice answered. "That wasn't from the accident, young man. That was my son." The cog loosened another notch. That afternoon, James took his first ever emergency personal leave. He drove to Eileen's address, a peeling old house in need of paint. The woman who opened the door was thinner than in her photo, but her eyes were unusually bright. "You're the man from the phone," she said. "I didn't actually think you'd come." Eileen's living room was full of books and plants. On the wall hung a peculiar painting. A snail crawling on a highway, blurred car lights in the background. "My son painted that," Eileen said, following his gaze. 10 years ago, before the drinking started, James should have asked for accident details, taken notes. Instead, he asked, "Why didn't you report the abuse?" Eileen smiled. A smile with a kind of peace James couldn't comprehend. "Because love isn't something you can file a claim for, young man." She made him tea and spoke about her son Michael, once an art student, then a construction worker, then a drunk. On the day of the accident, he had come demanding money, drunk. She'd fallen against a doorframe during the struggle. Then he'd taken her car and scratched another vehicle in the parking lot. "You should have called the police," James said, his voice softer than he intended. "And what would that have solved?" Eileen replied, "Punishment doesn't cure sickness." James left at dusk. He should have driven straight home. But instead he went to the cheap apartment complex on the other side of town where Michael Morris, according to the file, lived. He didn't know what he was doing, only that the cog had come too loose to turn back now. Michael opened the door with glazed, bloodshot eyes. "Insurance," he scoffed. "Efficient. Here to investigate fraud already." "I'm not here to investigate," James said, surprising himself with the truth of it. "Your mother has a bruise on her face." Michael's shoulders slumped. He looked 40 going on 60. "I know," he mumbled. "I know every time I sober up. Something strange happened." James felt no anger or disgust, only a deep weariness, as if his 23 years and Michael's 40 had suddenly merged. They stood in the grimy hallway, two worn-down cogs. "Why the snail?" James asked suddenly. Michael blinked. "What?" "The painting at your mother's. The snail on the highway." A long silence. Michael's eyes reddened. "A college assignment," he finally said. "The professor asked us to paint a contradiction in modern society. I painted that snail because I felt like it. Too slow, too soft, carrying a heavy shell in a world where everyone speeds up." He gave a bitter smile. "Pretty pretentious, huh?" James shook his head. I process hundreds of claims a day. Everyone is about accidents, loss, mistakes. But in 23 years, this is the first time I've called an applicant, the first home visit, the first time I've faced someone who caused harm. He paused. Maybe we're all that Snail. That night, James didn't go straight home. He drove to his office but didn't go inside. Just sat on a bench in the parking lot, watching stars struggle to shine through the city's light pollution. Karen called. He told her he needed a little time. Does the database need you? She asked, her voice holding concern and years of quiet resignation. No, James said. James needs James. He thought of his father, also an insurance clerk, careful his whole life, dead 2 years after retiring. At the funeral, the pastor said, he never made a mistake in his life. James had thought it a compliment then. Now it sounded like an epitaph. At 3 a.m., James came home to find Karen waiting in the kitchen, 2 cups of cold tea on the table. I dreamt about you, she said. You were laughing in the dream, a real laugh, not the polite kind. When I woke up, I wondered, when was the last time I saw you laugh like that? I couldn't remember. James took her hand. I did a lot of things against procedure today. Like what? He told her about Eileen Michael, the snail painting the loose cog. As he spoke, he was amazed at how easily the words came, as if they'd been waiting there all along. Karen listened quietly, then asked, so will you approve the claim? James considered. Procedure says yes. The amount is small, but that's not the point. He looked out the window at the lightening sky. The point is, for 23 years, I've been dealing with consequences without ever asking about causes. Every claim is a slice of a broken moment, and I only looked at the slice, never the story. And now, James took a deep breath. I want to see Michael, not as an insurance agent, just as a person. Maybe go with him to a meeting, maybe just have coffee. Karen's eyes glistened. That doesn't sound like you. Maybe this is me, James said. Maybe the me of the last 23 years was just a role, played it so long, I forgot I was acting. A week later, James went with Michael to his first recovery meeting. A middle-aged woman shared, sobriety isn't about never falling. It's about being willing to take a little longer to get up each time you do. Michael whispered, I've fallen too many times. Time isn't the point, James said, unsure whether he was speaking to Michael or himself. The snail doesn't need to keep up with anyone. It just needs to reach its own destination. Months passed. Changes were slow but real. James still worked at the insurance company, but he began proposing a special circumstances consultation. Not extra payout, but listening and referral services. His supervisor resisted at first, but the data spoke. His cases showed a 17% increase in settlements. The bruise on Eileen's face had long faded. She now spoke with her son 3 times a week. Michael wasn't fully sober yet, but he had a job, maintenance at a community center. He gave James a new painting. The same snail, but with cracks in its shell, light shining through. James's own cracks began to let in light too. He started weekend hikes with Karen, relearning the names of trees and birds. He was still precise, but now with the precision of a river, not a clock. One lunch break, a new intern asked James, "You've been here so long. What's the secret?" James looked out at the sycamore tree, its leaves turning yellow. "I used to say consistency and precision," he replied. "But now, I think the secret is allowing yourself to loosen occasionally. The strongest bridge isn't the one that never bends. It's the one that knows how to sway just enough in the wind." "Like a tree?" the intern asked, puzzled. "Like a tree," James smiled. He remembered what Eileen had said at their last meeting. In Buddhism, there's a concept called dependent origination. Everything is connected. That phone call you made, to you maybe it was just a small cog loosening. To me, it was a lifeline thrown back. Maybe that's what Buddha nature is, James thought. Not temple bells, but the willingness in ordinary days to notice the loose cogs, to leave a little space for uncertainty within the precision. In that moment, he didn't feel the weight of 23 years, only air flowing through the cracks, like wind through a forest, unhurried and unhasting, moving exactly at a snail's pace.